Hi, this is Tim from Garden Hands. We're done with our making maple syrup expedition, hobby, whatever you want to call it. We're done with that. We're all cleaned up, and it's early spring here. It's the 18th of April. We're ready to go in the field to get going seeding alfalfa, and probably they'll start planting soybeans in another week or week and a half. So we've got a little bit of time and just wanted to do something different, I guess. Now that we're retired, we can do whatever we want. So I thought, well, we'll get some wood split, and that's to prepare for next year, year after, whatever. We've got plenty of wood. I was going to take you on a little bit of a tour of my collection of wood, I guess. Some of this that we're going to see first is what we put up when we took down the trees that we used to construct our maple syrup shed. So we've got quite a bit of wood. I think we got about 3 years of wood here. So this is all pine, which isn't the best wood, but it does work. That's all split chunk wood that's all split up fine enough for the maple syrup. And this is what's left of the slabs. And there's more than enough slabs there. There's about a good 2.5 years, probably 3 years of wood at what we use right now in this. That's under a roof in a shed. That's money in the bank, I guess you'd say it. It isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to deteriorate. So we've got enough wood for that. So what we're making now is wood for our boiler, our outdoor wood stove. That we've got quite a bit of that made. We've got a couple of years supply of that, I think. Without doing this, but it's really nice. We've been behind before when we were younger and had more irons in the fire. It seemed like we were always looking for more wood and you never had enough. So right now we've got, this pile is like 10 feet across this bay. If you averaged that pile off, would be around 4 feet tall, I guess. It's 4 sections in between these posts, and they're 10 feet apart, so there's 40 feet long of it. And I think that'll last about 2 years, it seems like. This is an old bunker silo that we used when we fed cattle. We had this, and it works really nice for firewood. It's kind of a little bit overkill, but it sure is nice to use a skid loader to move all this stuff around. So I have a pile of wood that we just cut that had been laying there for about a year. And next to it, we have a whole pile of pine logs that we're going to get sawn into more dimensional lumber, inch boards and 2x4s. I've got this one here that's my challenge. I've cut through it quite a few places, but I still have to finish cutting it, and probably have to cut it lengthwise also to be able to handle it up on the splitter. We'll see what happens. That's white oak, so it's worth wrestling with a little bit. So we have this pile here, which will be, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours of splitting. It's mostly oak, and here's a cherry here in front. This one here, that's a hickory right behind it there. And what else do I have in here? We've got some red elm. This one down here is a piece of dry red elm, but mostly maple, little, not much oak, hickory, cherry, and red elm. It's all hardwood. It's all good stuff to use. We have a few bigger pieces of maple. That one there's over 100 pounds, I'm sure. That one's next. And what I do after I get them cut out on the slab here, I cut them out here in the wintertime when we don't have too much going on, or as much going on. Then I bring them over into the cattle shed, or the barn, I guess they call it. It was a barn until 2012. We got out of cattle and kind of slowed up a little. So in the barn here, we've got this pile left. I've been splitting. I started yesterday, and I worked yesterday about 4 hours on it, and about an hour today. So I got 5 hours. I think I have 4 hours left to finish up that, and it's mostly like these are hickory here, hickory and oak and some cherry. It's all hardwood here. And here's what we had done so far. It's hard to get a Its pile is about 30 feet long and it's 4 feet tall at least. It's just what I push off from the back of the splitter. When I'm splitting, I don't do anything special. I kind of let the splitter just keep pushing. And I'll throw some of it up there as I'm splitting. Usually I don't have time to mess around throwing it up, and it's split fairly fine. It works better for our wood stove, and we have time. So here's a piece of maple, and it's about 4 inches across, almost 4 inches square. That's as big a piece as we'll let through. Usually they're a little bit smaller. So we just keep splitting, and the splitter just keeps pushing it off the back, and the front of the splitter is hooked onto the Kubota, which is in neutral. And as it gets a pile accumulated back here, it'll just keep moving the splitter, just keep pushing it on its own. And I'll kind of throw some up a little bit. It'll make a pile that's about this tall, but it won't make it that tall. I have to throw it up there if I do want to, but with what we have piled on the side over here, if I keep moving them over, that pile there makes a pile about the same distance. So when I get that pile done, when I get the unsplit wood done, it'll be a pile that's about the equal length. I guess that's a simple way to say it. So I just got done servicing the splitter. We have to grease it. It's an Eastonmade 1222, I think is the number on it. Yes, a 1222 that we got 3 years ago, just before COVID. We got this just right when COVID started. And I can't say enough good about it. It's been great. It's fun. This pile of wood with my a normal old, like a 30-ton splitter that was modern, would take twice as long to do, at least twice as long. So we cut our splitting time in half, which is not a big deal for somebody who I don't have a job to go to, but yet when you get in at night, this was yesterday's split. I suppose I couldn't guess at how many cords there is here. I mean, it's a big pile of wood. So it is fun to do. The splitters are not cheap, but neither is your time. When you're gonna go and split wood, most people don't have lots of extra time. So it is nice to get done a lot of work when you do. It makes it more enjoyable. So I'm gonna get started here. The only thing I do when I get going, my battery is a little bit weak, so I have to pull it to start it. I'll spread this out here. It's a leather apron, like a carpenter's apron, I would guess. It'd be something similar to this. I wear that when I split wood. That saves wearing out your pants and your shirt a little bit. It kind of helps things not wear out as quick, and it was $27 or $30, I think I found it for. So that's been a good investment. And we'll get started. So hopefully we can get a few shots of this. The only other thing I do when I'm splitting wood or chainsawing is I always wear earplugs. It's just the little foam pieces that you stick in your ear. I guess I've worn earplugs when I've been on the farm for, since I was 25, 30 years old, and I do believe it has helped. I have kind of decent hearing yet, where some of these farmers that sat on a tractor their whole life, they don't have as good a hearing. So I'm pretty religious about wearing these. And here's my apron. Just has a clip in the back, and it works out pretty good. It might look kind of goofy, but boy, it saves on the clothes, that's for sure. So I'll roll a couple pieces on there, and we'll get the splitter running here. These hickory pieces, you can lift them. I mean, they aren't too bad. They're about all you want to lift, though. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear over this, but this splitter has a lift table, and it's also got the automatic return. So if I hit these two levers, when it gets to the end of its stroke, the first lever comes out of gear and knocks my piece of wood off, and the second one brings it back. So it's kind of hands-free. Once you hit them, it goes down. If you need it to stop, you pull on the first one and it comes back. It works out great. It's a good splitter. So here's the two levers I was talking about. When you hit those, it'll go down to the end of the cycle, and that'll kick this first lever out. And then it returns, that engages this one, or gives oil to this one to let it do its return stroke, which is a little bit faster. I think we timed this one time, and it's like a 5-second or 6-second cycle time. If it'll go through the wood fairly quick. If it doesn't, if it has to labor a little bit, it adds another second or two. Which, You can see when I was doing it there, it's all of 6 or 8 feet over to the pile of wood. And as fast as you can bring that piece of wood over, if they were all ideal and you could just quarter them, it's a 4-way wedge. If you could quarter every one of them and not have to resplit them, like these I'm going to resplit, they're a little bit big, at least the top two. They'll get run through again, which takes just a second, but you have to be here to do it. But as fast as you can carry that wood, if they were all 10-inch diameter and you're going to just quarter them, so one time through, it's as fast as you can carry wood. It's better for 2 guys to be here, but it makes you hustle. So it's fun when you can put them through that fast. Now we got some on the table right now, or the lift, which I didn't think I'd ever need that, but as you get older and smarter, maybe just older, one like this here, I could lift it up onto the table or up onto the splitting table, but it's sure a lot easier to let this do it for you. That's brutal. By the end of the day, you'd be kind of worn out, I guess, but this one will have to go through it probably 3 times to get it down to size, where this one will go through 1 time, and that'll probably be 3 passes on that one, something like that. But when you get all done and they're all split and looking like they do, we had, actually it's sitting right over there in the distance, right there is a 6-way wedge that it came with, and that just didn't work very good for us. If you got into any elm, it didn't work at all because it's just too many splits to keep pushing. Where this one, once I get, you kind of want to plan ahead a little bit, but this piece here, this wedge, this will drop down so it's level with the bed. So you're only going to split once, or split it into 2. Just split something in half. We've got some stuff called water elm or Chinese elm or whatever elm you want to call it. We got other names for it too. That is just twisted and gnarly, and that you have to have the piece off to the side of it and just take pieces off as you go around. It's got the twists. That wood almost twists a full turn every time you put a piece in. It's crazy how twisted up that wood can be. But that one makes it work. That's the toughest thing that we split, is that Chinese elm or water elm or whatever your name for it is. Otherwise, it goes pretty good. But the 4-way wedge, getting back to this, the 4-way wedge is great. If we have a real big piece that we think will be a challenge, we'll drop this piece right down, and that's just hydraulic. That's the one that says right here, or where are we? Right there, it says wedge. That lever brings that complete wedge, this whole piece, up and down to where you want it, and that works great. Other than that, boy, this is a nice machine. It's just great to run. You just want to be careful. Don't get your hands where they shouldn't be. That's the one thing about doing it fast, is everybody has to be careful and watch what you're doing. But otherwise, it's great. Works good. They're doing a great job over there at Eastonmade. As with any of all these new splitters, they're so much different than the old ones that they all work good. They all have their place. Most of what we just did was hickory, and you can tell that pretty easy by the bark or the straight grain. Oops. He wasn't quite dead yet. The straight grain on it. It's beautiful wood to use for lumber. This machine, it just walks right through it. And we're splitting it pretty small. So these are pretty small pieces, but they dry, and that's what our wood stove needs. And then we burn some of this in the house and the fireplace too. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll split on.